Hello, welcome to AleaSoft webinar. My name is Alejandro Delgado, Technical Director of AleaSoft and Associate Partner of Alea Green, and thank you for joining us today in this webinar with the topic Prospect for the Energy Markets in Europe, Vision of the Future for the Energy Storage. Our first speaker today will be Oriol Saltó, Data Analysis and Modeling Director of AleaSoft and Associate Partner of Alea Green, that will analyze the evolution and prospects for the European energy markets. Then, we have as guest speaker, Raúl García, Director of ASEALEN, the Spanish Energy Storage Association, that have joined us again after 1 year from our last webinar together, and that we talk about the vision of the future for the energy storage. If you have any questions at any time during the webinar, please use the Q&A menu, and we will answer them after the presentations. And now, I hope you enjoy the webinar. Oriol, please, share your slides.
Thank you, Alejandro. Good morning, everybody. So let's start right away. As always, I will start with a few words about our company. Then we will look at how the energy markets has been during the last week. We will be mostly comparing with where were we during at the time of our last webinar. It was 4 weeks ago. Then we will look at the electricity markets, and then we will look at what the futures markets are telling us right now, and then we will end up seeing what are the key points that we are looking now when forecasting prices. And then I'll talk a little bit about energy storage with some analysis, some interesting content, and then after me, Raúl will basically talk just about energy storage and how it will play a key role in the energy transition. So as I said, a few words about our company and our services in case you don't know us. In AleaSoft, we offer forecasting services. We cover all the energy markets in Europe. We are starting covering also some markets in South America and some markets also in North America. And our goal is to reach all the energy markets at the global level. So for our 24th anniversary, that it will be later this year, our goal is to offer a full coverage of 35 European energy markets, forecasting in the all horizons, so short term, mid term, and long term, and covering all the energy markets and all the horizons for each market. We offer forecasting services for any variable that it's interesting for the energy sector. So obviously demand and price for energy markets, gas and electricity, and not only spot market, spot prices. We also forecast ancillary services, intraday markets, imbalances, also futures markets. We also forecast renewable production, even at the level of a single power plant, or at the regional level, or at the national level, and any other variable that is interesting for the sector, weather conditions, socioeconomic indexes, CO2 prices, fuel prices, oil, etc. And apart from point forecast, so mean scenarios, etc. We also provide simulations. We even made hourly price simulations at the medium term, so up to 3 or up to 5 years. The methodology that we used for forecasting is our own methodology that we developed specifically for forecasting in the energy sector. The 3 main points that we always like to stress about our methodology it's that it is a completely scientifically based methodology. This gives our forecast some consistency, coherency. This is one of the main aspects that our clients like and appreciate about our forecast, that they are consistent and they are coherent over time. And this helped to develop the trust from our clients along all these years. Right now, we've been working for 23 years already. We started in the Iberian electricity market, and now, as I mentioned, covering most of the energy markets in Europe and also in America. Okay, so let's start with the fuels and CO2 prices. Let's see how they have been doing for the last weeks. I always start with the oil price. This is the Brent oil price since the beginning of last year. And basically, after the highest, nearly the highest peaks in history, we had higher prices in 2008, but these prices were pretty close. Since then, prices have been around $80–90 per barrel. Pretty stable. As if you remember, in our last webinars, we were saying it's difficult to see how the demand will evolve at the global level, because there's the uncertainty, how is the economy going to go. And we can see clearly how during the bank crisis that started in the United States with the Silicon Valley crisis, Silicon Valley bank crisis, then it reached Europe somehow with the Credit Suisse. Basically, we saw an important decline in the oil price. Oil price is kind of the signal of how the index of how the global economy is going. So panic crisis like this one you clearly see in the oil prices. Since then we had an announcement by the countries, the producers of oil, that they decided just to drastically cut and reduce the production. So this basically make the prices went up again, and they didn't reach $90, but they are quite close. Right now today they are going down a little bit, 1% down, 1.5% down right now today, but still above the $80. So we will see, because there's still a lot of uncertainty on how the global demand will go. China is recovering. It's one of the main consumers of oil right now. So we will see. It's still some uncertainty, but again, as the production is also very, so it's basically controlled by a small group of countries. It's difficult to see huge or very large changes in prices, because, as always, producers will try to control the production in order to stabilize the prices. If we look at the gas, this is the TTF, this is the front month future for the TTF gas. And since so we had the last peak in December, after the highest prices in history by the end of August last year, last peak in December, and since then prices have been going down, but we are seeing a lot of resistance here, in a lot of support, an important barrier at 40 euros per megawatt hour. We are already at the level of the last quarter of 2021, but it seems difficult, or it's finding difficulty in breaking this barrier and going below 40. Just yesterday, prices closed at 40.30, so very close to this. Intradaily values have been at some point below 40 euros, but again, right now they are above 40.1 right now. So we will see. Futures are telling, we will see afterward, the future curves are telling that probably prices won't go down below this 40 in a consistent way, at least for some months yet. So we will see. Maybe this 40 euros is the new normality. So what before we used to be 20, 30, right now it's 40. So why prices has been going down? Well, the level of the storage gas, stored gas is one of the key points. Right now, we are already injecting gas again into the reserve. We are 57% full right now. And if we look back how we were 1 year ago, we were at below 30%. So this right now, we are at the highest levels of storage of the whole history for this time of the year. So we are already refilling the storages, and we are above 50%. That's something that never happened before. And just to make a comparison, if we compare with 2021, 2022 was kind of an exceptional when talking about gas. But if we look back to 2021, we are 11 weeks ahead on average when start refilling the gas storage. So in Spain, we are 18 weeks ahead, but on average in Europe, 11 weeks ahead. So it's so it's a lot. So when facing the refilling period, we were in a very different situation of what we were last spring, where we needed to refill a lot, and that was one of the key elements for the gas prices crisis that we had during last summer. If everything goes smooth enough, it looks that this summer refilling period is going to be much quiet. So, and CO2, for the CO2, we've been, what we have seen for the last month is a consistent upward trend. So prices have been going up clearly, but the barrier here are the 100 euros per ton. Those are the highest prices that we had in history. And this midterm upward trend is reaching this barrier. So we will see. In the past, we had several attempts of breaking this barrier, but with no success. So probably at some point in the near future, in the coming weeks, we are going to see again prices closer to 100 euros. And let's see if this will be the time when this barrier will be clearly and consistently broken. At the long term, we know that this is a market that is designed for the prices to go up, because it is a tool to incentivize the switch from fossil fuels to cleaner technology. So at the long term, we know that these CO2 prices are going up, but in the midterm, we are still it's still not clear when we are going to clearly resume the historical upward trend of this market. Okay, if we'll start with let's go to the electricity markets now. As always, I will not have time to go market for each market, but as I usually take this opportunity to show you our online data platform that we offer to our clients, where you have all the data that is needed, that is interesting, that is important for the energy sector, being you an analyst, data analysis, energy trader, investor, journalist, CEO, anyone playing any role in the energy sector. Data is key. Data is power. And in our online database platform, you have all the data with the same format, always updated and free of errors. So basically very convenient and very important. So here what we are comparing are the monthly average prices for some of the most important electricity markets in Europe. Basically, this is since January 2020. The last complete month that we have is March. And again, comparing with February, that's what we saw in our last webinar. Prices have been going down on average, 20% on average. We have a little less in Italy, a little more in Spain, but on average, 20%. We are this price here below, different from the rest of the countries, are Spain and Portugal. We have in place the Iberian exception. It's a cap on the gas price used for electricity generation, and this exception has been extended until the end of this year. But as you can see, Spain and Portugal prices are at the very same level of the rest of the markets. This is because right now gas prices are so low that this price cap basically does not apply. So basically, Spain and Portugal having right now the same prices as the rest of the countries. If we look in more detail in the daily prices for the last weeks, these are daily prices for the same market since the 1st of February. Basically, you can see that around mid-March, prices started going down for most of the countries. This is basically because, well, entering a spring, demand goes down, wind energy goes up. Also, photovoltaic solar energy also starts going up. So you can see consistent lower prices starting on mid-March. And if we go to see the Spanish market specifically, you can see how here you have the prices in blue, and you can see how starting on more or less, well, the second week of March, prices started being consistently lower than before. And you can see how these low prices in the electricity market correlate perfectly with episodes with high wind that you can see in red. So high wind consistently means lower prices in all the markets, and in this case specifically for the Spanish market. And you can also see how the solar energy that is in yellow, it's been increasing consistently as we have more solar irradiation as we are approaching the summer. So, and one question that we get before the webinar to be answered here is, these are the hourly prices for the Spanish market since the beginning of February. And you can see how in the last weeks we have been seeing very low prices. Some of them are zero, some of them are close to zero, but basically very low prices. And they have been during weekdays. So it's very low prices during the middle of the day, something that we usually see during the weekends or during the Holy Week, that is this period here with very low demand. So it's easy to have, with a lot of solar energy, to have very low prices. But we have been here for the last week, we have been seeing this during weekdays. So, and the question was, how can this be possible, and what we expect during the summer when we are going to have a lot more solar energy. So yeah, obviously these low prices in the middle of the day are due to the solar production, to the large quantity of solar production that we have right now in Spain. But it's also, so it's not just solar energy. It's solar energy combined with a lot of wind. We have seen a lot of wind, and also less demand, because as we are entering the spring, leaving the winter, demand is usually lower in spring. So it's obviously it's due to the solar energy, but it's a combination of several factors, not just solar. So looking into the summer, we are going to have a lot more solar energy, but we will also have higher demand, because usually during the summer we have more demand than in the spring. So July mainly, it's one of the month in Spain with the highest demand. So we will have more solar energy, but we will also have more demand, and we will have less wind energy, because in the summer we have less wind energy. So yeah, probably we will see some days with very low prices in the middle of the week during the summer, but probably it's not going to be as critical or as dramatic as we can expect right now, seeing how in just leaving the winter we are already there. Where will we in the middle of the summer? Well, you have to take into account that in the summer we will have also more demand and less wind energy. Okay, so let's go back to our slides and just to mention that in our website you can find some of the or all the reports that we made that we offer. We offer long-term reports, bankable reports. These are the most demanded countries, but we are covering basically all the markets in Europe. We also has reports analyzing different impacts and drivers on the electricity markets, being cannibalization, how gas prices affect the price, how CO2 prices affect the prices in the electricity markets. Reports on PPAs, reports analyzing the future of the energy sector, being it how the green hydrogen will have the impact, future scenarios, simulations, etc. And we can also make or analyze individual projects, not just entire markets, but for specific plans, for specific locations, we can analyze the wind resource, the solar resource, how to optimize or how to size your energy storage facility, etc. Capture prices for a given technology in a given location, etc., etc. So now let's look at what the futures markets are telling us right now. Those are future markets, so are prices from today that paid for the energy that will be delivered into the future. So it's not exactly a forecast, but it's just what the market agents are seeing right now when they look into the future. So this is the forward curve for the Brent oil, and basically what we have seen is the long-term equilibrium prices are kept at the very end of the curve, and in the short term we see an increase correlated with the increase that we saw in the spot prices. So basically, no changes at the long term. For the forward curve for the TTF gas, we are seeing basically the opposite that we saw in our last webinar. If you remember, in our last webinar, we see a very important decrease in basically all the forward curves. So, and right now we are seeing not as big as it was the drop, but some recovery along all the forward curve. So basically no changes for this year, for 2023, but in 2024, we've seen an increase of 12%. This is compared to our last webinar, so 4 weeks ago. 15% in 2025, 17% in 2023, and basically very small changes at the very end. But basically with this increase, if we look at this increase and we take this and we take this to decide or to see how we will go back to the prices that we had before this crisis and before the COVID crisis. So in our last webinar, we said that probably in 2026 we could be already there. Now with the increase in the futures of the gas, probably this is shifted, delayed until 2027. That was more or less what we have been saying for a long time, that 2027 is the year where we are expected to be back to the pre-crisis levels of gas price. And for the CO2 curve, the CO2 curve is usually a very rigid curve, so it moves more or less accordingly in all the maturities. Basically, as prices have been increasing a little bit into the in the spot market, remember that we are getting closer and closer to that barrier of 100 euros. So following this increase in the spot prices, we've seen an increase in the whole forward curve. And looking at the forward curve for the electricity markets, basically here we have three kinds of behaviors depending on the market. Spain is usually very insensitive to this. Well, basically it's far away from the other markets, as market agents expect the increase in renewable energies in Spain will have a larger impact on electricity prices. And for the rest of the markets, Italy and Germany are following what we expect, slight increases in 2024, following the increases in the futures of the gas, basically 12 and 9%. If you remember, for 2024 we had a 12% increase in the futures of the gas, so basically correlated with this increase in gas prices. And then we have France, when we have a 30% increase in Cal 24, and this is basically on top of the increase of futures of the gas. We have France has its own problems with their nuclear plants, new problems found in some nuclear reactors. And on top of that, you have to include that they have been on general strikes for several weeks. So this mean disruptions on maintenance, on recruiting staff. So problems on top of problems, and that's what brought the Cal 24 electricity future up by 30%. And just as a way of summarizing basically everything we have said, what we are looking when making forecast for the electricity markets. So basically, Oil prices make a rebound after the OPEC announcement, basically, but they are, let's say, they are back at the levels that they were before. So basically, it's no important changes, and we saw how the futures at the very long term remain unchanged. Gas prices are more or less stable around that 40 euros megawatt hour. But the forward curve recorded some increases. So as I mentioned, the return to the pre-crisis levels, we follow the forward curve, what the futures say. Right now, we delayed it from 26 to 2027. CO2 prices, again, they are reaching the 100 euros level. We will see how they evolve in the short term or in the midterm. And electricity market prices, following gas prices, very stable during the last weeks, basically taking into account demand and the increase in wind and solar energy. But again, very stable, around 100, 120, 150 euros megawatt hour. And as always, if we look at the much longer term, then things haven't changed, basically haven't changed a lot. Prices will be driven at the very long term by the renewable energy generation, production of green hydrogen, battery storage or energy storage in general will be a key point when setting prices into the future. And how the hybridization of all these technologies, renewable technologies, with power plant or hydrogen plant for producing hydrogen, and with battery storage or any other kind of more long-term storage of energy, all these will play a key role in the energy transition and in market prices specifically. Okay, and I have just 3 minutes left just to see some interesting things about energy storage. Raul will talk a lot about energy storage right now, but you can see how in California right now, it's interesting to see the role that the batteries are playing in the energy mix. So basically, you see the huge contribution of solar energy in the middle of the day, and just before the solar radiation starts producing energy, we see how batteries fill this gap before solar energy starts producing, and they fill the gap after the solar production decreases when in the late evening. So very basically, energy storage, batteries in this case, filling the gaps of the solar energy production. And when talking about energy storage in Europe, probably Germany is one of the most, let's say, advanced markets, advanced countries in this way. Just in 2022, the energy storage capacity increased a lot, 2.5 gigawatts hour added to get a total of 7 gigawatts. You see how most of it is from home storage, so basically batteries that self-consumers have at home. But there is also an important fraction of larger scale, utility scale storage directly connected to the transmission and distribution grids. And in terms of power, we are you can see also the large increase in 2022, up to a total of more than 4 gigawatts of power just in batteries. And in Spain, when talking about energy storage, probably hydro pumped storage is the most relevant energy storage that we have in Spain. And you can see how the profile of consumption, so how the hydro pumped stations consume energy from the grid, has changed a lot based on prices. Obviously, when they consume from the grid, they basically take the most competitive prices. So when prices are low is when they consume energy. And you can see how the profile of consumption has changed a lot in the recent years. So up to 2019, you can see that they were basically consuming during the night, This was when the prices were lower, and then they were consuming very few during the rest of the hours. In 2020, 2021, 2022, and what we are in 2023, you can see how the consumption during the night has been decreasing, and the consumption during the day, during the solar hours. This is when the prices are now being lower and more competitive. How the consumption of this now, it's in 2023, it's basically, well, in 2022 it was already higher during the day than during the night, and in 2023 the shape has changed even more dramatically. So how the energy storage is adapting on how the prices behave. In this case, they are changing the profile due to the increase in solar production. And basically the production, so this is the consumption, this is the production. Basically the production is changing in the other way. Basically they are starting producing more in the late night and in the early morning, and less during the solar hours, because there is when prices are lower. And that's all. That let me already invite you to our next webinar. That's going to be in May 11th. And we will talk again about the energy markets, how they have been, how we are seeing them into the future, and we will also talk about some of the key points in the future of the energy sector. So thank you, Alejandro.
Thank you very much, Oriol. Really insightful presentation as usual. Raúl, when you're ready, you can share your slides now.
Thank you very much, Alejandro. Let me second in order to okay. Could you confirm me if you are watching the slides?
Yes, all good.
Okay, thank you very much. So, well, thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here with you again when 1 year later. Even the spoiler with the information, with the smarter or newest understanding information that Oriol has told you, but well, I'll try to give you some interest insights. So first of all, if you don't know us, let me just a minute to introduce the ASEALEN. Okay, ASEALEN is a non-profit association of companies involved in energy storage with all available technologies, aimed at accelerating the decarbonization of the electricity sector and in thermal usage. Okay, this association, the scope of this association is every storage technology. We are not focused in one specific technology, but and we try to think and try to foster even the thermal storage uses in industry and commercial, even in residential services. But at this point, perhaps this activity is lower. We are 35 companies, 35 members, different sizes, different activity, manufacturers, producers, consultants, suppliers, a bit of everything. So the situation, the National Energy Storage, Climate Plan from Spain. This is very known for all of us. The storage estimation of the storage plan was focused on pumped hydro storage and CSP, thermosolar energy, and something a bit quantity, a bit amount of storage behind the meter and loop. The current situation is that this new energy, this NEC, are under revision. The most important figures here are these two that are bigger, corresponding to wind and PV power. If we see in this plan in 2025 follow 40 gigawatts of wind production and 21 gigawatts of PV. The current power installed in Spain is about 30 gigawatts of wind power and about a bit more than 20 gigawatts of PV. Now, in this case, we have to account to the self-consumption power PV, most of them, that the amount is between 5 and 6 gigawatts. So the situation is that the PV power installed in Spain is higher than we have to achieve in 2025. So the new version or the new release of this plan should increase probably in a high amount the storage capacity. The problem is that in these 2-3 years that has lived from this plan, the pump hydro storage wasn't increased. But in the other hand, the storage behind the meter linked with self-consumption facilities has reached probably the amount that we would like to achieve in 2030. No, probably the amount estimation of the new storage, the battery storage behind the meter is around 200-300 megawatts with about between 2 and 3 hours of capacity. So this is the most important figure. And the storage from the meter, even the evolution is very slow in Spain. We hope that this objective of 500 megawatts probably will be increased, perhaps not in 2025, but yes, in 2026, as we will see in one of the next slides. So, as Alejandro told before, we were here 1 year ago, and we told you about the regulation, what was happened, where there was an energy storage strategy, several royal decrees with miscellaneous different articles about storage, a new grid access and connection royal decree, the order for tender for access capacity in just transition node, the royal decree about granting from self-consumption and storage facilities. This is the reason that that increase of behind the meter batteries in Spain, and the order for grants for innovative energy storage from deep rates. These last instruments are under the umbrella of the recovery plan, the next generation funds. No? What else? During the last year, we are continued with new regulation. So we solve, or Spain solves the tender for access capacity just as it is. That the conclusion or the company that won this tender is going to start to install. It's the capacity of this access capacity was about 1 gigawatt. So the proposal is more than 1 gigawatt of PV with 700 megawatts of wind, plus an electrolyzer, 50 megawatts, and batteries, 80 megawatts. And a very interesting thing that is happening in Spain, that this project is going to have one synchronous condenser. And this is something that is happening in Spain, and there are a lot of increase of a lot of access capacity asked for Red Eléctrica with synchronous condenser. This is a strange thing, but we will see what is going to happen, because we have several technologies like pump hydro or thermal energy, thermal pump, or even liquid air, compressor, that can give this synchronous condenser function or mode of operation. So it is going to be very interesting, and we cannot forget too that in a few years we hope that the inverters, the PV inverters, the battery inverters could give that grid forming condition. So it is going to be very interesting in what is going to happen with INSUI and with the different shows about this thing of the synchronous, the minimum synchronous capacity in the system. So the other important instrument is the Royal Decree for grants and self-consumption, a lot of grants given, and the grants for innovative energy storage and the project. The solutions is at the end of the presentation, sorry, and the big instrument, or big, to say something, no, the bigger that we have now is the grants for collocated or hybrid storage with generation, no, with PV or with wind power plants. And other less known instrument that was grants for repowering wind farm and small hydro. This instrument allowed to get a grant only for that wind farm that was repowering or substituting their machines, and for small hydro that renew equipment or make some improves in the facility. We have a specific action from the renewable, the RES system, the system from get a fixed price, or more or less a fixed price for renewable energy. It was 200 megawatts for CSP plant, but no new storage was assigned, no CSP, and no one. So the problem here is that, if you remember, in the National Energy and Climate Plan was 5,000 megawatts, 5 gigawatts for CSP production, with between 8 and 10 hours of storage, producing at night. So this auction was an award. So we don't know what is going to happen exactly, but for sure, if we want to comply our renewable objectives in electric system and in the whole energy system of Spain, we will need to substitute or find something to cover this hole for the statement. Another document that was released, Royal Decree Research and Innovation Electrical Sector, is a sandbox configuration. It has several potential options for storage, but my opinion is it has a very complex to fit with a specific project or for a specific big development for storage. Probably will increase or will be better business model or something very specific. We are expecting a new order that will allow to participate in the auction. No? OMIE, the market operator in Spain and Portugal, has we thought that they will need to change some rules in order to allow the storage participation, because it's not the same scheme, or not exactly the same scheme than Pampidro. But finally, it seems that it's not going to change anything, and they have find the way to allow storage participate, and in that way, in that sense, the CNMC, the Spanish Commission for Markets and Competence, has said in a document, no? in a resolution of this. Another line that is too very known, very forget, it's several grants for Canary Islands. But it's true that these lands are very focused on self-consumption and communities, and very focused in the small facilities or small battery systems. No? But it's important because the Canary Islands are small systems, more or less. Someone is bigger, the two bigger islands, but in any way they need a lot of storage. And they need increase the capacity for storage, because the systems are very weak and they have a lot of restrictions. So this is a line that we will have to focus on. But we are waiting still the other instrument. In the other, I think we can say that it is the only one. No. That is the capacity market. We all were hoping the new instrument that the Spanish government will be able to launch, to release this instrument, but the real situation is that we haven't this capacity market. And the most important thing is that in the last week, the situation has changed because of the European Commission storage recommendation. In these 10 recommendations, there are 2 that put another adjective. No, the same. Traditionally, in the last year, the stated rules says that the capacity market are focused on security of supply. But in this recommendation says that it could be based or on environmental objectives. So if this is cuts for the governments, perhaps we will have a very fast way in order to have this capacity market base, not in the security of supply, because the security of supply, at least in Spain, with a lot of hydro, a lot of gas, and still the nuclear plants, it could allow a very low new capacity for storage. No? But if we base an environmental objective, we can achieve all that 10, 12, 15, 20 gigawatts of new storage that we need in order to get these renewable integration objectives. The other important document or regulation that we are waiting for that is is a circular for the grid access and connection from the demand side, because the situation is that storage is considered as generator, so we can get the access connection as a generator. We are to demand, so we have to comply, or we have to know how to do the things as a consumer. And it seems that finally this document is going to fly this year. And the importance of this document is probably a door in order to change some limitations and restrictions and constraints that we are suffering with storage in when we are going to get an access point, because the most of the access are given to generators, no? And this is an important thing in order to get a sustainable development of storage. What other instruments? Operation procedures of Electrica. Last year we said that PO 12.2 is going to get. Well, we are waiting for that today. And others like the Voltage Control Service, the new here is that there is a pilot market for 6 months in running, and referring the other POs that we need to get a clear participation in the ancillary services market has been really delayed, as we can see in this roadmap of Red Eléctrica, when when the Mari, Picasso, and SRS project are delayed to 24, and even with the Picasso cases, even more than the midterm of the half of the year. But we hope that in 2024 will be this stability, and if not, in the first months of the next year. This information, well, okay, I'm not going to extend with this. Has been explained by Oriol, but the important thing here is that the numbers is not only a change in the pattern, or in the change in the shape of the function, is a big change in the hours of operation. No? We are in maximums. This is the turbine, and this is the consumption. So it's the maximum production in Spain. Now, finally, we have a big capacity storage, pump storage, running every day, giving services, because during a lot of years they have been very stable. This is the same information in other way with the monthly production, and we can see there was here with a lot of production, a lot of consumption, certainly more than 900,000 gigawatts in 1 month. And we can see the change of the pattern in low consumption, low storage in summer, high storage in winter, because the wind, low, high, low, high. And in the last years, we have a summer with more or less a high amount of storage consumption, and this winter that has, this is from January, and here bigger with December, January, February, with a big amount in March. It has been to more than 900,000 gigawatts. So why we need storage in Spain? Okay, we can see here how it's working now. Most of the time, the storage in Spain, we need to storage the PV production in winter, sorry, in autumn, in summer, and when the reserves are there. But we need to increase our amount of storage even in summer, because we need to cover the night production in summer, even with a high amount of PV. And we have to try to get a way to avoid combined cycle synchronized or connected in order to get the stabilizing the system. No, we have a lot of production. This is a winter day with a lot of production, but the combined cycle is still necessary. So we have to find the way to reduce this minimum need. And of course, thinking perhaps in the next decade, we have to cover that date with a very low production, that we need to cover all the production that security of supply that we get today with gas. So finally, the Spain recovery plan, I told you something before, the different rules of the different documents. And this is the roadmap, no? The self-consumption behind the meter, R&D grants, the wind, repowering wind and mini hydro grants. This is the collocated grant for Stolat, and we are waiting for the next grant that will be for a standalone project with the objective from 600 megawatts. I guess that only with behind the meter will we get this objective. So if we plus the collocated grant and the standalone grant, we will probably get more than 150, perhaps 200, 2,002 gigawatts for storage in 25-26. So this is the numbers, the 200 megawatts I said before. The grants for R&D was for 25 megawatts, 21 megawatts oral, with 18 megawatts in Canary Islands. The estimation for this collocated with this 150 million euro, with this ratio, probably will get more than 600 megawatts. This is an estimation. I guess it could be more close than 700 or 800. If success, probably second round. We expect that we will be a second round and we will have the 150 megawatts. The thing that we don't like with this is that in April, the deadline for these projects are April 26, and this only fixed with very fast construction projects. So batteries are practically the only technology that can participate in these grants. And finally, a gross reflection that I did a few days ago. It's not a good estimation. For that, I guess that Oriol, Alejandro, Antonio will do very better work. But what can we expect in the future in Spain related to collocation facilities? If we have a PV plant of 100 megawatt, total capex 75 million euros. If this plant could achieve an average price of 40 euros megawatt, it will have a ratio, or it has a ratio incomes capex of about 0.1. If we go to a worst case, installing a 2-hours base system with a capex of 60 million euros, a total capex of 135 million euros, and we don't change anything, we obtain the same price and the same production, this ratio decreased to 0.05. No, I guess the left case is a regular, a good case. This case is a worst case, a bad case. I don't go to invest in this. But if we could achieve an average price of 22 euros megawatt, we could get back this ratio to the 0.1 as in the first situation. It's not a fantastic case, it's the same case that the first, but we have an storage and perhaps we could will alive. what happens if we lose production? If we lose 200 hours production, this ratio will reduce about 1 point. It's sorry, 1 point. No, sorry, say 1 point from 200 megawatts losing. So in this case, it seems that it's not good or it's not appropriate to install a battery because we get, even with 20, more than a 20 loss of production, we even got a better ratio than the others. But what happens if this average price 24, 28 euros? In that case, we get the same ratio that in the other way. But I think that if we have a best system, we will probably get more incomes. We will have more expenditures, of course, more operation cost. But if we could achieve with this 400 best system, we will achieve 400 more hours with about 85 euros megawatt. We will have an average price of 40 euros, and at least, and in this case, we will in the same situation. This is a bad situation, a bad worse, but at least we have a best system. So the point here is, what is your threshold, your pain threshold? If you are going to wait to lose 400 hours or 200 hours or 100 hours, and how is going to happen with this price, that I guess that Antonio and Oriol will be able to say us something more. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Raúl, for that great presentation. And thank you again for sharing this webinar with us. And we will start now the Q&A section of this webinar. Since we are already out of time, we will answer only a couple of questions. Oriol, I see that you already have selected a question.
Yes, so very fast, it's a question about our long-term curve, price curve forecasting. So can they be used as a reference for PPA? Can they be used as a reference of the future of the hydrogen, green hydrogen price? And can they be used to calculate hybridization and batteries? And the answer is to the three questions is yes. Our forecasts are being used as a reference for PPAs, even from both sides, from the producer and from the off-taker side. Yes, our long-term forecasting reflects the future price of the green hydrogen. And yes, our hourly price forecasting for the long term is being used to estimate the optimization and the size, the optimal size for energy storage in the form of batteries.
Thank you, Oriol. Raúl, do you have any questions you want to answer?
Well, here is a question. It's about the price gap in price arbitrage for the battery to get the break even. It depends of the times that you are going to get that price. No, it's not only the price. It's not only to have 100 or 800 or 80 or 90. The question is, how many times are you going to get that price? And this is even a simple estimation. You have to account some kind. Here is the difficulty. How are your incomes about other services, not ancillary services? This is the part, and the final problem is that find someone that believe in your estimation and trust in your estimation and can give you money for financing that investment.
Thank you, Raúl. Okay, well, This concludes the webinar, and we will answer the remaining questions directly by email. And as Oriol mentioned, I invite you to register to our next webinar in May. And thank you again, Oriol and Raul, for your presentations, and the audience for joining. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Goodbye.